They created huge structures, only to abandon them. Castles built for millions now resound like tombs. Entire cities consumed by sand, submerged by seas, or scorched from beneath. Places once alive with hope, now surrendered to tragedy, silence, and decay. From forsaken islands to ghost towns drowned in stillness, you won't believe how swiftly dreams turn into dust. And when you uncover the harrowing tale of Oradour-sur-Glane, you'll understand why no one ever came back. Let's start off with number 15, Oradour-sur-Glane. There's a small village in France where time stopped on one terrible day, and it was June 10th, 1944. The village is called Oradour-sur-Glane. What happened there was so horrific, the ruins were never rebuilt. They were left exactly as they were. Before that day, Oradour was like any peaceful village. Neighbors knew each other, children played outside, and life was quiet. Then Nazi troops arrived with trucks and weapons. They gathered every man, woman, and child. The men were led to barns and shot. The women and children were locked in a church. Then, the church was burned. In just one day, over 600 people were killed. Few escaped. After the war, Charles de Gaulle made a decision. The village would stay as it was. Burnt cars still sit in the streets. Walls are charred. Rusted bicycles and sewing machines remain untouched. The old church still stands, ruined and silent. No one lives there, and a new town was built nearby. Number 14, the Australian Triangle. Seeing Earth from above has revealed many surprises, like long-lost cities in Amazon, desert shapes like Nazca, and structures never noticed before. But sometimes what we see only adds more questions. In 2007, someone using Google Earth spotted something unusual near Australia's coast. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a reef. It was a perfect dark triangle with glowing lines along its edges. The image caught fire online. UFO believers said it looked like the black triangle aircraft often reported, silent crafts with no wings and strange lights. Others claimed it might be a top-secret military plane. But experts had a simpler answer: a lens flare caused by reflected sunlight. Still, not everyone bought it. The triangle was too exact, too crisp, and too perfectly placed. Officially, it remains a photographic glitch. But some believe it was something else, a shadow we weren't supposed to catch. Whatever it was, the image became part of a growing mystery. Proof that sometimes the strangest things aren't built, but accidentally found. Number 13, Wolf's Lair. Hidden deep in Poland's dense forest, surrounded by tangled paths and trees, sits a crumbling fortress with a brutal past. It's called the Wolf's Lair, a secret Nazi military complex where Adolf Hitler spent much of World War II. The name came from one of his old aliases, the Wolf. Built in 1941, the compound was Bug, designed to host top Nazi leadership away from enemy eyes. Thick walls, bunkers, and endless tunnels formed a hidden world. But in 1944, it became the site of a failed assassination. German officers planted a bomb inside the bunker in hopes of killing Hitler. The blast wounded him, but didn't end his life. After that, he no longer trusted the place. When Soviet forces advanced, Hitler ordered the complex destroyed. Explosives ripped through it, but much of it survived. Today, moss-covered ruins sit cracked and quiet. Trees pierce old walls. Broken concrete lies open to the sky. The Polish government now owns the site. Number 12, wheel structures in Jordan. Strange things show up when we start looking from above. One of them lies in Jordan. Near the Azraq oasis, scattered across the desert, sit hundreds of stone patterns. At first, it just looks like rocks. But from the air, you see massive shapes, circular wheels, spirals, and lines. Some are over 70 meters wide, others stretch beyond 220. They're older than 2,000 years. No one knows who made them or why. At first, people believed they were burial sites. That made sense. Many cultures buried their dead in elaborate ways. But later studies changed that theory. These patterns don't match. Some have spokes. Others look like mazes. Some are just odd. So people began to guess. Maybe they aligned with the sun or stars. Maybe they were part of rituals. Maybe something else entirely. The strangest part? If you stood next to one, you wouldn't even notice. The shapes are only visible from high up. The mystery still stands, baked into the desert. Number 11. Baiae. Long ago, along Italy's coastline, there was a place called Baiae, a luxurious escape for the elite of ancient Rome. It wasn't a city of politics or war. It was where emperors relaxed, soaked in hot springs, and indulged in lavish parties. Some even called it the Las Vegas of Roman times. Figures like Julius Caesar and Nero vacationed there. The city was filled with grand villas, marble baths, and late-night festivities. But over centuries, it unraveled. First came invasions, and people began fleeing. Then the land slowly started sinking due to volcanic activity beneath the surface. The sea crept in. Eventually, the entire city was swallowed. Today, Baiae rests completely underwater. But it's not gone. Its ruins still remain under crystal blue waves. It's now an underwater archaeological park, one of the few in the world. Visitors can ride glass-bottom boats or dive down to explore stone columns, intricate mosaics, and sunken pathways. Baiae may be submerged, but its story still lingers beneath the surface. Number 10. Carrie Blast Furnaces. Near the Monongahela River in Pittsburgh, the Carrie Blast Furnaces still rise, tall, rusted, and hollow. Built in 1881, this industrial giant once helped power America's steel empire. It stretched across 400 acres and produced more than 1,200 tons of iron per day. Workers toiled around the clock. Flames lit the sky. But the good years didn't last. By 1978, the site was outdated. Most buildings were demolished or burned down to clear space for a housing project that never happened. What survived were the towering furnaces, nearly 100 feet tall, lined with pipes, soot, and history. They sat untouched, slowly rusting, until locals began seeing them not as junk, but as relics. In 2006, they were declared a National Historic Landmark. Restoration began. Artists painted murals, guided tours were launched, welders and historians teamed up to preserve the structure's bones. What was once a roaring factory is now a symbol of Pittsburgh's industrial past. Number 9. Igloo City. In the middle of nowhere near Cantwell stands one of the strangest buildings in the state, a giant imitation igloo. At first, it might seem like a quirky roadside stop for travelers, but that's the strange part. It's a hotel that never opened. Back in the 1970s, someone had a bold idea to create a unique highway attraction that would draw in tourists. The concept? A massive igloo-shaped hotel. It sounds clever, but there was a problem. It didn't meet the building codes of the time. Before construction could even finish, the project was halted. The builders walked away. Years passed. A few different owners claimed they'd complete it, but none ever followed through. Now, nearly 5 decades later, it's still standing. 4 stories tall, empty, with nothing inside but wooden framing. Urban explorers have wandered through and taken pictures of what's left. From the outside, it looks like a dream. Inside, it's just dust, beams, and silence. Number 8. Abandoned Hobbit House of Chedglow. Out in the quiet fields of Wiltshire, England, there is a peculiar little stone structure that catches people off guard. Locals call it the Hobbit House, though that was never the intention. It began with a simple idea, a basic hay barn. Back in the early 1980s, a man named Colin Stokes bought the land with that plan. He wanted a plain rectangular shelter for farming. But as he started stacking stones and shaping the walls by hand, things shifted. He grew attached to the craft. Dry stone walling became more than labor. It became a passion. One wall led to stained glass, curved edges, and even small towers. Without blueprints, Colin kept building for over 11 years, turning a barn into something storybook-like. To him, it was still just a barn, just one that got a little out of hand. He built himself a loft and lived there briefly, but a quarry opened nearby, and noise pushed him out. By 2000, he sold it. Now, as of 2025, it sits empty, quiet again. Number 7, Akarmara. In the mountains of Abkhazia, the forgotten town of Akarmara still stands. Once a thriving mining town during the Soviet era, Akarmara bustled with families, factories, and smoke-filled train tracks. Coal built the town. Apartments rose, schools opened. At its height, thousands lived there. But when the Soviet Union fell in the 1990s, war erupted. Fighting between Georgian troops and Abkhaz separatists forced residents to flee. Coal shipments stopped. Silence took over. Within months, the town emptied. Nature moved fast. Trees now grow through rooftops. Vines crawl up apartment walls. Rail lines rust. Entire stairwells lead nowhere. Broken balconies crumble into weeds. Only a few people remain, tending gardens or herding goats, surrounded by ruins. For them, Akarmara isn't just a memory, it's home. Others visit only once. They walk past moss-covered rooms and shadowy hallways, take their photos, then leave. What's left behind is a place swallowed by time, but still standing, quietly, in the trees. Number 6, Tirana Pyramid. Back when Albania was still under communist rule, a massive concrete structure rose in the center of Tirana. It was known as the Pyramid of Tirana, built to honor the country's longtime leader, Enver Hoxha. Finished in 1988, it was meant to represent pride and permanence. But just a few years later, its purpose collapsed. By 1991, the communist era ended, and the pyramid lost its meaning. Officials tried converting it into a convention center. That failed. Then it was handed to the military. Later, it became a TV station. Nothing lasted. No one maintained it. Over time, the building decayed. Glass shattered. Walls were covered in graffiti. Scrappers took what they could. The structure became a ruin. Multiple efforts were made to tear it down, but every time the plans moved forward, local resistance stopped them. Many believe it should remain, not as a tribute to power, but as a reminder of change. The pyramid still stands. Number 5, Burj Al Babas. In Turkey's Bolu province, near the quiet town of Mudurnu, something strange sits behind the hills. Hundreds of empty castles, all lined up like abandoned toys. They all look nearly identical, gray stone walls, pointed roofs, and rounded balconies. From afar, it could pass for a luxury village, but up close, it's a deserted shell. This odd place is Burj Al Babas. The project started in the early 2000s when a group of developers pitched an ambitious idea. They wanted to build more than 700 small palaces and sell them to rich buyers, mainly from the Middle East. Each house was designed as a vacation retreat, with underfloor heating, fancy interiors, and forest views. Construction moved fast. Rows of castles were built, aiming to attract owners. But the economy turned. The market crashed. Buyers pulled out. The company ran out of funds and declared bankruptcy. By then, nearly 500 homes were built, but not one finished or lived in. Number 4, Houtouwan. Along the edge of Shengshan Island in eastern China, a silent village slowly disappears beneath a blanket of green. This is Houtouwan, once a thriving fishing community, now reclaimed by nature. Stone houses once held entire families. Boats lined the shore. Children played between narrow stairways. At its peak, Houtouwan was one of the busiest villages in the region. But reaching the island was never easy. Deliveries took too long. Selling goods became difficult. One by one, younger residents left for better opportunities on the mainland. By the early 1990s, most families were gone. Empty homes became targets for creeping vines. Trees grew through windows, moss-covered staircases, leaves blanketed roofs. Today, nature owns it. Tourists come to walk the overgrown paths and photograph ivy-wrapped houses, but no one stays long. The quiet is heavy. Birds chirp where people once shouted. Houtouwan didn't fall to disaster or violence. It faded piece by piece until the plants were the only ones left standing. Number 3. Cape May Bunker. In 1942, during the height of World War II, a massive concrete bunker was built along the shoreline in Cape May, New Jersey. It was never intended to last forever. In fact, it was supposed to be removed once the war ended. But that never happened. The bunker still stands today, resting on thick wooden pilings that somehow survived storms, tides, and more than 80 years of salt air. The people who built it never imagined it would outlive its purpose. Its concrete walls are 7 feet thick, and its weight should have crushed the foundation decades ago. To first-time visitors, the structure feels out of place, an enormous block on soft sand. But to locals, it's always been part of the coast. That might change soon. When it was built, the ocean sat 1,000 feet away. Now the sea reaches its front steps. Waves fill the space beneath. The shoreline is inching closer. One day, it won't be a ruin on land. It'll be swallowed whole. Number 2. Ryugyong Hotel. In the center of Pyongyang, North Korea's capital, stands an enormous triangle-shaped skyscraper, the Ryugyong Hotel. Nicknamed the Hotel of Doom, it was supposed to be a national landmark. Construction began in 1987, with bold plans to create one of the tallest hotels on Earth, 105 stories high. At first, progress was fast, helped by Soviet support. But after the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, North Korea fell into economic hardship. The project stalled. The exterior was mostly done, but inside, it remained unfinished. For over 30 years, no guests arrived. No lights, no furniture. In 2008, glass panels were finally added, covering the outside in a glossy shell. Rumors suggested it would open soon, but again, work stopped. To finish it would cost over $2 billion, a number far out of reach. So the hotel remains sealed. At night, lights flash across its surface, showing digital animations. But inside, it's still dark, empty, and unused. Number 1. Badlands Guardian. If you walked across a dry patch of land in Alberta, Canada, nothing would seem unusual. Rocks, hills, and soil, exactly what you'd expect from a landscape shaped by time and weather. But from above, everything changes. A face stares back. It has a nose, lips, eyes, even what looks like a feathered headdress. It's called the Badlands Guardian, and it's huge. This shape wasn't created by people. Unlike the Nazca lines in Peru, which were carved into the earth on purpose, this one appeared naturally over time. Wind and rain slowly carved the face into the land. The symmetry is so clear, it's hard to believe it wasn't planned. But it wasn't. There's a twist, though. A line cuts through the face. That's a road. There's also a small dot. It's a water well. Some say it looks like an earbud. The road and well were there long before anyone noticed the face. It was first spotted in the 2000s through Google Earth. If you've enjoyed watching this video, be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for hanging with us. We'll see you in the next one.